Okay.
Statistics for the township, how many families live in the township.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the special village board meeting, Tuesday, April 22nd, 6:30 p.m. If we can all stand and say the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Trustee Costa?
Present.
Trustee Vivo? Present. Trustee Janice?
Present.
Trustee Table? Present. Trustee Sweet? Present. Trustee Eustich?
Present.
Mayor Taylor?
Okay, the next portion of this meeting is public comment. So, okay, we've got a number of speakers here tonight. We do try to keep it to 3 minutes. I usually don't enforce that, so. Dave Bilger would be the first speaker.
Thank you. I'm Dave Bilger. I live at 12107 Grayson Court, home of Glen, Illinois. I've been a resident for about 29 years now. My wife and I have 3 children that we've raised in home of Glen. Basically, what I'm here is I'm from the Homer Soccer Club. And basically, what I like to say is that the sports group that was formed by the other 2 sports groups has been put in place to help all the kids of the community, not just in sports, but in any type of activity. We have had a wonderful working relationship with the township in utilizing their parks, and we still want to continue that. But the way we see Woodbine is another way for our kids and any other type of activity to be under one central location. It's a perfect spot to have the parks. We've got a library there. We'll have the village center there, from what I'm told. Right now, all of our sports are spread all over the community. They're also in Lockport. There's just a number of different moving parts here. So somebody who has 3 to 5 children, they're driving from one location to the next. This will hopefully alleviate some of that. It's a safety issue as well, too. There's parking all over the place at these parks as well. What we would also, one statement that I'd like to make is, with golf, to leave that a community golf course, I'm sorry, I'm a golfer myself. It's a dying industry. It hasn't come back. There are several other places around here to play golf. About 15% of the people of Homer Glen could probably golf, where we can use 100% of the people in Homer to use a park like that. A couple other things that I found, which was kind of interesting to me. The park that, the Woodbine golf course that the village just bought was $3.3 million. In 2009, it was going to be $6 million for that. We just saved $2.7 million, okay, by buying that thing right now. Also, this was in a newspaper article dated January 7, 2014. There's a couple things in here that states, this is from Trustee Yukich. It says, when you really stop and think about it, what we're paying in rent for the village right now, it's about $2 to $230 million a year, said George Yukich. Adding, Trustee George Yukich added that the village will also look to build parks on this land as well too. So in a letter that we sent out as a sports group, we stated in here that Trustee Yukich went to Woodbine, the present owners right now, and wanted to keep that as a golf course. As a business owner, I would have to look at that very, very strongly, because why would you want somebody running your golf course who has not made money? Also in here, Trustee Sable also states in here that she'd like to see this as a property for the community. We paid for it with tax dollars money. I totally agree with that. We all have a right here to say what we want. These are things that I can give to you, I can leave behind. Thank you for your time, and I hope it eventually becomes a park, because it's going to be a wonderful community park for everybody in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Our next speaker will be Brent Ludwig.
No comment.
Okay, and then the speaker after that would be Jim Ludwig.
Mr. Mayor, could I hold off for a little while, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, then the next speaker will be Brian Crockett.
Mr. Mayor and Board of Trustees, thank you for allowing me a moment to speak. My name is Brian Crockett. I am the president of the Homer Stallions football, cheer, and lacrosse program. I've been a resident of Homer Glen now for 8.5 years. I have 4 children ranging from the ages of 17 to 11. All of them have gone through the sports programs here in Homer Glen, HAC, and with the Stallions, and I'm proud to say it's been a wonderful experience for all of my children. I have coached on many levels within HAC and the Homer Stallions, and it's been a pleasure as well now to be the president of Homer Stallions. I'm here today to represent the Homer Stallions and to make an appeal to you, Mr. Mayor, and to the Board of Trustees, that when considering the Woodbine development, you consider our youth. I'm not here, and we are not here to represent any one political person and one political agenda. We are here to support our children. For too many years, even as a coach, I remember this, practicing in open lots, practicing in farm fields, practicing in a neighbor's backyard, because there were not enough facilities for us and our youth to practice in. Ample parking, facilities, washrooms. These are all things that are basic to our needs, and yet, for the youth for so many years, they were not available to us. The township has been very kind and gracious to supply us with the complex, and we work to maintain it in a very professional manner for our youth, and we serve, for lack of a better word, as a park district for this community. There are no other programs that do this. Between the Homer Athletic Club, the Homer Stallions, and the Homer Soccer Club, we do serve a major purpose for this community. Many of you have had kids and children that have gone through our programs. Presently, we have to hold practices in areas like Parker Road with no parking at all. We have to hold practices in water retention areas. We also have to have our children use portalettes when there are not facilities available to them, and this is because no permanent facilities have been put in place up through now in Homer Glen. Woodbine is available to us now. I give all of you a lot of credit for moving forward with the purchase of Woodbine. This, in fact, would be a great asset to the entire community. It is not just for youth. It is for all the residents of Homer to enjoy. It is for sports fields, parks, walkways, nature. There's plenty of room there with over 100 flexible acres for us to utilize. There should be no argument that all of this can be put under one big umbrella. The hope of the Homer Stallions and Friends for Homer Youth Sports is that as responsible trustees, you will not only support the needs of some of the constituents, but all of us, residents as a whole, and our youth. What attracts families more to a wonderful town like Homer Glen than great facilities for young children to share? I thank you very much for your time.
Next speaker would be Mary Ann Bozen.
My name is Mary Ann Bozen. I live at 13810 Rock Bluff Way. And I would like to say, take this brief moment to say congratulations to Jim and Margaret, because they really quite a couple of years ago, they had the opportunity to also vote for buying the Dunn Farm, which was really a bummer. And he turned it into a winner, getting that Woodbine. And I think they certainly need a congratulations for you.
Thank you.
And the next thing, I was wondering if the village manager has looked into any projects that would be self-sustaining besides sports for the constituents of Homer Glen, such as maybe a indoor pool that could be enjoyed all year long, facilities for that, or perhaps maybe even some place where the village, where the citizens of Homer Glen could have small little parties that rent would be coming into Homer for the utilization of this facility. What more? Actually, it's great having all these baseball teams, but it does, we have to take into consideration all the facilities. I know Jim had spoken to me once before, and he said that he would like to also have some type of facilities for the seniors of Homer. Now, I've been a resident of Homer when almost 37 years, almost coming up to 40 years, I should say. So I've been here a long time ago when there was nothing around but farmers, and maybe 3 cars went down 143rd Street, and we used to stand out there and wave to them because it was such a novelty. So I think there is a lot of consideration that should be put into this project, and I'm sure it's all in capable hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. The next speaker will be Don Mitchell.
Hi, my name is Don Mitchell. I live at 17942 Foxtown Lane. This is a time for new ideas. It's a great opportunity, but my message really is that the village has already adopted a master plan for parks and recreation that includes a community park, and this was the vision. It was developed starting in the year 2001, as you see the seal behind the mayor. I served on the original committee. It was called Parks and Environment, and it was directed by trustee Margaret Sabo. It went through many changes over a long period of time. Currently, Marcia DeVivo, trustee, is running the Parks Committee. That master plan was adopted in the year 2007. It incorporated the ideas of dozens and dozens of committee members over the years, and a countless number of inputs from the residents of the community. It was subsequently updated and approved, I believe, Marcia, in the year 2012. That plan also allowed for a village green. Subsequently, a village green task force was commissioned. I'm not sure what the outcome of that was because many of us consider it to be extremely flawed. However, many good people developed many good ideas that went into the thinking for a village green. And I guess my message is don't forget what's already been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Brocade Account. Is that close?
Ron, put your close.
Sorry about that one.
No, that's okay. I had 2 teachers, Mayor, that got it right at all my years of school. So okay, I've been called on. Brock Back, I live at 15026 Eagle Ridge Drive in Homer Glen. My concern is twofold, actually. I can't say that I represent all of the neighbors that live adjacent to the golf course, but there's dozens of families that live right on the golf course that when we purchased our homes and had them built in 1992, 93, 94, you know, we built next to a golf course. And now it's going to be a parks facility, which is fine. Our concern is, my concern is, what about the homes that were purchased 20 years ago 25 years ago that were alongside of a golf course. Woodbine was already established then. And we had a peaceful golf course for years, and we're just concerned what's going to be abutting our property now. This is something that I think, obviously, the board needs to take into consideration. And if, my question is, like I said, twofold. One is there going to be a committee put together of homeowners that are going to be able to sit down with the village board and come up with ideas and protect some of the rights that we think we have, we believe we have, and if there is such a committee that's going to be formed, when would this happen? And the other concern is, you know, that Woodbine had a tremendous tax advantage to the village. We were receiving quite a bit of tax revenue from Woodbine Golf Course. When the village takes it over, that tax revenue dries up. So what is going to be put there in place to replace the tax revenue that Woodbine was providing to the community? 9-hole golf course, that's fine, but what is there a plan to take all of this into consideration, to replace the tax revenue that's lost, and to protect the people who have the homes alongside the golf course that have been there for over 20 years? Thank you.
Dennis Gerwin.
Mr. Mayor, the previous speaker covered the points I was going to make.
Okay, thank you. Sharon Garcia.
Good evening, I'm glad I'm speaking now. My name is Sharon Garcia. I'm 14648 Saddlebrook Lane. Because all the people that have already spoke tonight have covered the points that I wanted to cover. I think Homer Glen right now is an opportunity to create a place where people can go as families, enjoy the sports, enjoy a park. I'm very proud to live in Homer Glen. I'm glad I'm raising my 2 boys in Homer Glen. We've been here for 16 years. But there really isn't anything in Homer Glen that really stands out as a nice facility for sports, parks, downtown areas, walkways, anything like that. I have 2 boys who play with the Homer lacrosse. We're now in a field that's way over in Lockport, over by the golf course, across the bridge. So we're playing way over there. We were originally supposed to be playing on Parker Road, which is a mud field right now, so we couldn't get there. So I'm looking for a field. We go to these other places that have these great fields, these great facilities, and I feel like Homer Glen is an established community that should have that. I also have a son who plays for, is on the track team for District 92. So far, we've been the only school that does not have a track. We've gone to the fields in New Lenox, Mokina. They all have beautiful facilities at the junior high. District 33C and District 92 are the only places I've been to that do not have an established track. So I just hope they take that into consideration, because I think you have a great opportunity now to put something in Homer Glen that makes it stand out, that makes us even more proud of our community, and gives the kids a place to go where they can grow with their sports, just go hang out and have fun, and just something they can be proud of in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Speaker would be Lynn McGarry.
Just skip me, thank you.
Okay. How about Mike Skyle? Is that correct?
Skye.
Skyle?
My name is Mike Skly. I'm at 14560 Renmore Road in Homer Glen, Woodbine West subdivision just adjacent to the golf course. I'm probably just going to echo what everyone said before me. But I moved into Homer Glen 7 years ago with my wife and 2 children at the time. Now I have 3. And we moved to Homer because it was the up-and-coming suburb. You know, it had all this potential, a lot of new construction, families moving in. Had a great philosophy with the nature and harmony, and you know, it was willing to preserve open space and keep its rural charm. So it sounded great. There was rumor of a new high school moving in, which we were all excited for. And that's kind of fallen through the cracks. And I think in the last 7 years, progress has been a little scarce in this village. I think from a young family's perspective, there haven't been a lot of wins so far in this city, as far as I'm concerned. And I think this is a great opportunity to get a big win for Homer. I can't think of anything else that can go there with the open space that we have. I commend the village for jumping on the opportunity to
get the golf course for a very great price. And I think now it's time to do something. Ball fields, a recreational spot, senior center, you know, we have a blank slate here. The decision we make now can affect the direction of this town for the next 100 years. So I think we should, let's make the right one and just use it for recreational use. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker would be Ken Marson. Do I have it right?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Daley, and rest of the trustees of Homer Glen. My name is Ken Marson. I live at 13721 K3 Court, Homer Glen. Been a resident here 13 years. I also serve on the board for Homer Athletic Club. As many people here know, Homer Athletic Club has been in existence for over 50 years. And we primarily use the baseball field over at the complex. In addition, we also have a basketball program, which we use the schools at 33C, and the volleyball program, which we use the schools at 33C. We commend you on the purchase of the golf course. We just feel that there's probably a lot of questions. We have a great opportunity here to expand the sports field. But in addition to the sports field, you know, we would probably like to know in the future, are you going to have a building where we would have basketball courts or volleyball courts? We're just, myself as a member of the board, just curious, where is the board going to go with this? The one thing about Homer Athletic Club, the Stallions, and the soccer program is the fields we use with the township, we maintain those fields, and it's an expensive process to maintain those fields. And going forward, the board takes on whether they are going to play football on the golf course, baseball, soccer. Are they going to maintain those? Is there going to be a staff in place? It almost sounds like maybe a park district needs to be put in place. It's just questions I have, and I think our board, some of our board members may have as well. And again, congratulations on the purchase, and we look forward to working with yourselves and the other two sports committees in the future, and hopefully we can get this all wrapped up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker would be Bev. I don't want to butcher your last name. 15056 Eagle Ridge Drive.
No, Brock addressed all my concerns.
Okay. Would anybody else, because I saw people walk in and you picked up the sign-up sheet, would anybody else like to speak on the subject matter? Bob Schmidt, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees. I employ all the residents for good. God knows we ought to be here every day to see what's going on in your facility. Right here? Okay. Anyway, what I wanted to address is justice. It is time that Homer Glen, I believe, and the mayor and the trustees agreed that we have to put a stamp on our heritage. One of the important things is that the parents and the children grow this. And when they do, wherever they go in the world, they will always remember, I was raised in Homer Glen, a very important part of our life. And I want us always to remember, you especially, because God knows where you'll be 10 years from now. But a lot of these parents with their children will still be there. I hope, if he says so, I'll be there myself. But on the other hand, remember in your heart, work for the people of Homer Glen. Do the best you can, and I will always respect you for that effort. Thank you.
Jim, would you like to say anything?
I'm Jim Ludwig, live here in Homer Glen, 6060 Wild Lane. My history goes back a little ways. My grandfather was born here at Bell Road, 143rd Street, 1866. In the early 1920s, he purchased a piece of property called Parker Farm, which is now part of it is a subdivision, the highway department, the library, township offices, and the Glen golf course. Unfortunately, through a turn of events, the family built this golf course and had to relinquish it. It wasn't our intent, but that's where we're at. And that's not going to change. We would just like to be in a position to help the village. This process of building your recreational facility is going to take time. And we could be there to help you maintain that property until you need it, and not for any period beyond that. So if that's the case, if you would like us to be there, we'll be more than happy to. Thank you.
That concludes public comment. The trustees are going to discuss this. I'll start out as the mayor. I want everybody to understand that at this point in time, the only thing that has been decided is that the village hall will be a banquet facility. We have had 22 different architectural firms submit RFQs for the architectural job. The committee got it down to 5, and then we got it down to 3. We interviewed these firms, the 5 down to 3. The trustees will be now interviewing the finalists, the 3 finalists. We believe that almost all the architectural firms felt that the most advantageous time to do the build out of the building is during the winter. Carpenters will be working inside. There'll be a very competitive atmosphere to have a job like that in the wintertime. I'm very much in favor of doing that this winter. Now, as far as the golf course, which will be a future park, right now, I'm sort of tired of hearing we're moving too fast. I hear this from certain board members here. So I'm gonna give you a little brief explanation about moving too fast, and I'll get to work on it. Just last week, the S&P rating system upgraded the Village of Homer Glen's rating system for long-term bonds from AA stable to AA plus. A major financial rating system does not see us moving too fast. They do not see us moving or leaning over our skis. Myers, who's making a significant investment in this town, it's one of the largest stores in the southwest suburbs, does not think that they're moving too fast. Jewel, which had an opportunity to buy one of the Dominic's properties. There were 51 Dominics that closed. Jewel bought 4 of them. Where did they buy? They bought in Homer Glen. We're not moving too fast. Richard Supply Company relocated their headquarters from Cook County to 159th Street. 50 full-time employees. Did they think they're moving too fast? No, they're not moving too fast. I had 4 ribbon cuttings today for new businesses in this town. The state is putting a $100 million road down 159th Street for state improvements on 159th Street. The county is looking at 143rd Street. There's $10 million secured for the intersection of 143rd Street. They're looking at Bell Road from 159th Street to 131st Street. ComEd I've met with is upgrading their power grid off of 355 because they believe this is the area that is going to grow the most in the next section of the growth period. We have a piece of property here at the park side. that nothing has been decided on. Many of the areas that the kids recreate right now on, or parents with their younger kids, have no permanent improvements. Nobody is promoting, and I'm not promoting, any permanent improvements until a park plan is done by a professional. There will be all kinds of public input. That's part of the architectural design process. We'll have multiple meetings with the public to decide what they want, prioritize it, have it become part of the park plan, and that's going to take some time. But there's no reason in the world why our kids should be squatting on every available open space in Homer Glen, in Homer Township, and in Lockport, when we have 100 acres out there, which is a sports field. It's a golf course. It has detention in place. It has ponds. It has sprinkler systems. It has 100 acres. We can definitely go out to bid and find out, and I have asked questions of the current superintendent of Woodbine. And I don't want to throw a number out there, even though he gave me a number. For the purposes, I don't want to, it would have to be publicly bid, and I don't want anybody leaning on that number. But it could be adequately done for a very reasonable amount to be cut, mowed, weed and feed, keep the dandelions down so the adjacent property owners don't get upset, and used by the public. The public paid for this. This is your tax dollars. You should be able to use your tax dollars. I don't understand anybody that would say, let's wait 2 years. We don't need permanent improvements there right now. It is going to take some time. I fully agree with that. And we will do it in a professional way with support of the people in this community. But why not use it as a temporary facility for the kids of this area? Now, as far as running it any way possible is a golf course, it's going to turn into a circus. I have to run a professional business over there, which is called Homer Glen. I don't intend to have two-thirds of that parking lot, excuse me one second. I don't intend to have two-thirds of that parking lot with people sitting on their bumpers, changing their shoes, and yelling to Joe 4 cars down, make sure you grab the cooler with the beer in it. Okay? I'm not into putting up a temporary wall to wall off the section that would be needed in the village hall for a temporary golf course to be run a year beyond their contract that was made with them. And the ink isn't even dry on it. It's only 4 months into this, and people are already talking about, one trustee I know for sure, is talking about the option of making this a golf course for another season. The fact of the matter is, I'm not into having a wall up, and on the other side of the wall, have video gaming, having liquor being served, having food being served, and having people right behind where I'm trying to do business screaming and yelling on the first tee or swearing because they missed a putt. I'm also not looking forward to people, taking up two-thirds of the parking lot, and I've got to run a business. It'll turn into a total circus. I firmly believe that in a temporary type of setting, we can mow the lawn, we can weed and feed, and we can let the residents of this community use the property like they've been using forever. We do not have, in many situations, permanent facilities that the kids are using right now. They're everywhere in this community trying to find a property to use. Here, you have paid, all of you have paid, $3.4 million for this property. There is no reason to do another year of golf. We can do this in a temporary type of setting, and I am dead set on that opinion, and I do not want another year of golf in 2015. Thank you. Now, Now to let the other trustees weigh in, I'm going to go from one side to the other side so that we're not going straight down the board. I'll start out out of respect to the head of the Park and Recreation Committee, Marcia DeVigo. And before Marcia speaks, I want everybody to understand one other thing. I am not in favor of a park district. A park district is another taxing body. I want a parks department that is run by the Village of Homer Glen. We do not need the park district fighting with the village and a different taxing body. We can do this, hire the people, they're employees of the Village of Homer Glen. Marcia, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. It's really hard to understand why we would want to run this as a golf course. I just don't get it. When we discussed this, when we voted on it for a reason. We wanted a village hall, that was the biggest reason. We needed a facility so that we could house the public. When we had meetings, we had conference rooms, we have places to put staff. This building does not work very well for us, and it's costing us a lot of money. So first and foremost, we need a village hall. The second was, we have a park plan here, and I want to thank my former member of the park committee for bringing this up, because this is it. We did this. You did it. I did it. Some members of this board. This is the park plan. This was many, many meetings over a period of time. Lots of input from residents. It talks about all the different things. It talks about swimming pools. It talks about all, sports facilities, tennis, everything you could possibly think of. There's possibilities. This doesn't mean that it's all going to get done in a year or 2 years. It's going to be a plan. We're going to find a company that's going to design a plan for us, and we're going to work on that in phases. And we have the money. Thank goodness for everyone in the past organization, the past mayor and the current mayor for being frugal. We have the money to do these things. It's about time we started spending your money on the things that you want. Remind people of one thing. Most of you have been here for a very long time. I have no years compared to some of you when it comes to living in Homer Township, Homer Glen. We have around 2,000 acres of land that has been set aside by the Forest Preserve and by the township for open space. You bought that. That $8 million referendum for open space, you paid for that. You paid for a referendum for the Will County Forest Preserve. Great, bang on. They did a great job. Both of you did a great job. You've preserved lots and lots of land in this community for passive recreation. It's time we took this 100 acres, that's all we're asking for, 100 acres as opposed to 2,000 that's already been set aside. Let's start doing something with it and make it into a park so that you guys can use it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. It's always hard to come out to the meetings. Everybody's busy, and also when there is an issue that is probably so near and dear to all of our hearts, especially us that have been here for years with kids and have gone through the sports programs. I personally, like many people in the room and some people on this board, wasn't quite involved in the sports organizations for a number of years, actually 10. Served on the board for 6 years and coached about every sport that I could, at least the ones I understood, and had a good time doing it. So I certainly do understand everybody's pain here when you say that, you're practicing in a field or you're practicing in a spot, just if you want to say squatters' rights. I also remember the days when we would have residents would bring generators out, we'd put lights up on poles so we can see, and when we put our cars on the field, so we could probably, I see some shaking heads out there, so we can have another half-hour practice and make sure the kids are ready for a game. So we have evolved tremendously in the past 20 years, 25 years, and anybody that's been here that long will recognize that, but we do need to go further. We really do. I don't think there's, I can't speak for all the board members here, but I don't think there's anybody on this board that doesn't want to make this into a park. We know that we lack a lot of things. One of it is parkland, paths, we could just go on and on and on. As far as the sports commission starting, I commend you guys. About 12 years ago, someone reminded me in the audience here, a bunch of us got together in somebody's garage and talked about the concept of having a commission, or whatever you want to call it, to unite all three sports organizations, so decisions that were being made on the needs of all the kids. So I commend you guys for stepping up to the plate. It's going to be a long journey. You're going to have 6 or 8 people on the commission, and you're going to have 6 or 8 different opinions of what should happen at any given time. But work at it, guys. It's a great thing for the community. Along with that, I'm just going to speak a couple more minutes on that. What the board is going to need in the near future, and again, I think we want to plan a park there. We do need more parklands for kids, for both passive and active recreation. I do remember, and many of us in the room remember years ago when a plan was presented to this community, and we had to take it to Schilling School for a meeting, and it ended up with about 12 people that had anything to do with sports there, and about 200 people that completely opposed the use of public land for active sports. I am glad to see that we have a great group of people that express their opinions and concerns on all sides of the issue tonight. I think it's going to be important for the sports groups, though, to get all of the information you can to this board, to the Parks Committee, with at least your last 5 years of signups, the registrations, and also any plans that you may have in the future for growing your organizations. That's going to be a big part in planning this park. We're not here tonight to plan it, we're here to talk about, I think maybe put some minds to ease of what we were thinking of doing, and some trustees were thinking of doing. But that's going to be important. We would like to plan this one time. We don't want to say, well, right now let's put 2 fields here, and we want to put a nature center here and a sledding hill here, and then 5 years down the road, we're short on something. We want to plan the best we can. So it's going to be important to get all the information from sports groups so we can see where your organizations are going. As the mayor had mentioned about growth, and if we're moving too fast, I think we can all agree. We're seeing some great things happen in Homer Glen. With the businesses coming in, Myers is huge. A couple of the others that the mayor mentioned, Richard's coming in. That's great. But one thing we have to remember, buying this piece of property is all going to be on the shoulders of staff and this board to design it and to see it through. I sat on the committee to pick from 22 RFQs down to 5, and then bring it down to 3 to come to this board in the next few weeks. Talking to all of them, they're talking about months of planning, getting drawings together, getting documents ready, just before we can even go out to bid. And all we're talking about is the building inside only, not the park, just for the building. They also all said that you're talking between, if you want to use the 3 that we're covering, between 4 months and 8 or 9 months for the construction of this process. So if we get out for bid right around the holidays, get it back and start in the wintertime, it's very conceivable that we can be moving in around the end of summer, early fall. So as you heard tonight, that you can have golfers standing around yelling, give me a beer and cussing on the putts, more than likely, we won't even be in that hall if the board elects to carry the golf course there 1 more year. So that thing, we need to plan this first. That's going to give us a time frame. Also, we have been told that we're not business friendly. At times, this board, certain people on the board have been criticized. We're making it too hard for businesses. We're driving businesses out. We have too many rules.
Damn right.
We have a businessman that came here tonight that is asking for our consideration to possibly stay open 1 more year to give us ample time to plan this park properly. That's all he's asking for, and I think he deserves all of our consideration for that. Is it going to be the right thing to do? We're going to decide that. We're going to think about that. We know everybody, we understand everybody's needs for the land. We've seen where you guys practice. We've all been there with you. What happens if you use it next year and the year after that? We tell you, you got to find a spot for a year because it's under construction. Let's Please give us the opportunity to do this right the first time, or at least the best we can. It's going to be a park, and I'm sure that it's going to be planned for everybody's interest, young and old, active and passive. As far as community center, Mary Ann, we're going to get something going for you. For a youth center, we have some good ideas tonight. What about a swimming pool? What about basketball courts? We need time to plan this, get funding mechanisms in place so we don't overtax anybody or overburden our budget too. Thank you very much, and one last thing, please. All of the trustees, all of your elected officials' names are on the website along with an email. If you have a question, a concern, a problem, if you hear a rumor, don't hesitate to email all of your trustees and ask them what's going on. We get emails all the time from residents. Sometimes that's when we hear things happening in the community because, things do happen away from this town board. Don't be afraid to contact your trustees via email. Most of us are going to give you our cell number to call. For me, it's a lot easier to talk than it is to type. I'm not the greatest at typing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I couldn't have said it any better than Trustee Costa. I agree with what he says. I believe the board will eventually have Woodbine as a park for everyone's use, not just certain areas. And buying this piece of property has taken money, and it's going to take money to remodel building, to do the park fields, and have everybody's concerns in there. And I don't think you want to have another bond put on your back or another tax referendum. So I think we have to take it a little slower. I know the mayor says, we're rushing things. Well, we have to do it right the first time, and we ask for your patience a little bit. It seems like Woodbine is not a flat piece of property. It's going to take a lot of excavation there too. So, I think it's a good idea for the homeowner that says that we should have residents nearby have their, not just the sports people, but have the residents near Woodbine to have their input, have them have a subcommittee to make sure those lights are not shining in their light. If they're in their, I've heard residents say that those lights shine in their bedroom windows. They got blackout shades. We have to ensure that doesn't happen, that it's put in the proper areas. That's all I have to say.
Okay, seeing this was all about me not wanting to have the sports groups out here, I can't tell you how misinformed you are. I have never once, and there's not one person in here that can say that I did not want sports fields. Let me see, I gotta get all these names straight, because I can't remember. Dave.
Yes.
You had said that Giorgio Gitch said he wants sports fields. I do want sports fields. But what I've been asking the mayor since before we bought before we bought Woodbine, because we went through this already with Dunn Farm. I've been through this before, so I know how it works. We asked many times before we even purchased it to get the residents together, the people who live around the golf course that's going to affect the most, and all the organizations. I was told we'll do it down the line. So if we would have done it when we first asked, and second asked, and third, and fourth, and fifth, and sixth, because every time we've had a meeting, I've said, when are we going to have a meeting with the residents, the organizations, and the people around Woodbine? And it's never come to fruition. So that's why you're all here thinking that I'm the bad guy. Well, let me tell you, I'm not the bad guy. I'm actually watching out for you guys. I want the park. I want to do everything that we've been doing. My son played for HAC. He's still playing for HAC right now. He's playing for Steve Bruton's team. So you can't say that. I got one email from a gentleman, I won't mention any names, that how inconsiderate I am and how selfish I am because I'm only worried about myself, not the kids. I do worry about the kids. That's why we pushed Dunn Farm years ago. And unfortunately for Dunn Farm, the mayor did the exact same thing. He put something out to the public to come in and he informed them what he wanted you to hear. Not the truth, what you wanted to hear. And that's what he's done again tonight. My whole thought behind this is, like Trustee Costa said, we have a working establishment here. Unfortunately, this man lost his business that he's tried working to keep for the rest of his life. his blood, sweat, and tears in this are now gone. The money that he invested in this is all gone. We went in and bought the golf course, which for $3.2 million, because boy, this figure was 3.1, 3.3, 3.4. No one even knows what we paid for this anymore. It was $3.2 million. At least that's what I saw in my papers. We bought it because we want the sports groups and the residents to be able to do what they want to do. We do deserve it. We pay very high taxes in this village. We should have what we're paying for, and we have to. So we bought the golf course. We were told by the mayor that Mr. Ludwig wanted to get out of the golf course. He did not want to work there anymore. He wanted out, but he had some banquets he had set up for this year, 2014. So if we closed him down, what do you tell all these people that are getting married and have had plans for a year, 2, maybe 3 years? You tell them that, well, Homer Glen bought it, so figure out what you're going to do. So he worked it out to where he was going to stay open for the 1 year. What a lot of people don't know is he has a 2-year contract left on his property, and by rights, he has the right to use it. He was told by our mayor that, no, we want you out, we want to start getting everything ready. What I'm really amazed at the most is, where do you think we're coming up with all the money to do what you guys are looking for? We haven't even gotten any kind of an idea of what's going to happen here. So, in other words, when the mayor said before, we're going too fast, and one of the trustees on this board is saying it, I am. Because we are going too fast. I'm not spending my money, I'm spending your money. So if you don't mind, and you want this to be rushed through, then hell, add the tax, because that's what's going to happen. Because we don't have the money that we had before. We had one business in this village that used to bring in $500,000 to $750,000 in sales tax. It's gone. So now you lost $500,000 to $700,000 a year that we did have coming in before. Now Myers is coming in pretty soon, so that's why I kind of figured, well, all right, Myers is coming in, we should be getting a good tax base from them, because what everyone here all says to remember, we took out a bond 2 years ago now. The bond was for $25 million. The mayor wanted 50. We went, this board decided to knock it down. I decided not to even vote for it because I didn't trust that the money would be spent the way it was. Because most politicians do not follow what they say. They tell you one thing, they do something else. One thing I won't do, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you exactly what you have to hear, because when it comes down to the end, you're going to find out I never lied to you once. I told you the whole truth, whether you liked it or not, because reality is reality. So, with that being said, Mr. Ludwig still had a year left. We were told he didn't want to do it. So, I've never really questioned the mayor. I kind of listened to it a lot of times, and unfortunately I got kicked in the head and the teeth a few times from it. Found out afterwards. I put faith in people that maybe I shouldn't put faith in. But I went and talked to Mr. Ludwig, and I said, Mr. Ludwig, do you want to close for 2015? He says, hell no. I'd love to stay open. I have a contract, but I was told I can't do it. So what the mayor had done is he cut a deal with him. He pays $120,000 this year for the golf course.
$125,000.
$125,000 for this golf course this year. And next year we boot him out, we give him back the $125,000. So now you lost $250,000. Because if he was able to stay open for the 2 years, that's $250,000 you would have had that the taxpayers don't have to worry about because he's paying for it.
It's a wash.
On the top, wait, it's a wash. Wait, it's a wash because you're throwing them out in December. I didn't interrupt you one time, I got
Go your math is wrong, though. I'm just telling you your math.
Well, I don't know, you know what? If it's $125,000 a year, you give me $125 and I give you $125 back, yes, it is a wash. So you made nothing for him being there for the year. This man lost everything. All he asked was to please let him finish what he had coming to him. So let's take anyone that's in this audience. How would you like it if that happened to you? You're down on the ground and someone comes up and kicks you again. He's not a young man. And I think that's absolutely horrible what this village has done to him. But my figuring was, all right, we got $125,000 for him. I thought it was $120,000. And then the next year we would get another $125,000 because he's still working at it. But we would drop that down because he is giving up the banquet facilities so we can put the village hall in. Because village hall is very important to put in. It saves $250,000 a year if we get out of here and get in it. So when I ask somebody, it's not a problem. You can have the whole back. That's where the wall came up to separate. So now we have a village hall that's, no one's even gotten anything. There's no architectural plans. There's no nothing for this. So you still have the architectural plans. Now you have the engineering. Now you have to go for bid to get, how much is this going to cost? What are we going to do? And the other thing that really puzzles me, they have $2.4 million down to do a build out, not build a building, to do a build out. Anyone that's been in here that's gone through Woodbine and they take a look at it, what the hell are you spending the $2.4 million on? I'd love to know. So, with that being said, they go in and they build the village hall. You build it out. Now, that won't start till sometime next year. So there is nothing that is stopping this village from advancing. We can't go over there because it's not built out yet. It won't start till after January. So if they're going to be building it for 6-7 months, where does it bring you? It brings you into September, October, November. The golf season is over. We get finished up, we move in, Jim moves out, he got us 2 years, he maintained the property for 2 years, didn't cost the taxpayers a penny, and we got $250,000. So maybe I'm just thinking off the wall here. I'm looking at money not coming out of your pockets, because if you kick him out, who's paying to cut the grass? You are. So why would you pay for it? And the rest of this village, you still can't really use it. Because what they have to do is they have to get bulldozers out there, they have to level the ground, they have to get rid of water holes, they have to get rid of sand holes, they have a whole lot of work out there. And that work is going to cost a lot of money. Who's going to pay for it? You! Wouldn't you rather give us some time, let us find out what could be best, invite the groups like we asked in the first place. Like I said, I've been asking since December to get all you guys together, the residents together, and all of the people that live around Woodbine, because you have to be concerned about them too. They bought the property as a golf course being their backyard. Now, there was no guarantee that it was going to stay a golf course. But now you're getting baseball parks back there, football fields back there, soccer fields back there. You're getting a whole bunch of sports back there that stays late. Baseball, like I said, my son played baseball. I can't tell you how many times I was out there past 10:30. Lights glaring. All these people who live around a golf course, they've never had this before. This is going to be new to them. Wouldn't you just like to have the courtesy to ask them, what do you think we should do? Where do you think we should put these? You can't just go like this and have it all happen. And the other thing that I'm really surprised about, my phone number is on my business card for this village. I carry my phone with me everywhere. I answer every phone call that comes in. I answer every single solitary email that goes out there. So why didn't anyone have the balls to call me?
We have kids here.
You're out of order.
He's way out of order is what he is.
You know what? The problem here is, you've been misinformed. You guys fell for it.
By who?
And by who?
Yeah.
Well, when I see the letters that are going out from, I didn't see anything from HAC, so they
sent it out.
Pardon me?
Did you check the website?
I went on the website, I didn't even see it on the website.
Is the audience allowed to speak?
You know, hold on here a second. George, you finished with what you want to say?
No, I'm not finished.
We'll go right ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The whole point here is, when I'm reading this and it says that I'm trying to stop it, I'm not trying to stop it. All I'm trying to do is do what's right for this village and do what's right for Mr. Ludwig. We got the golf course. If we're not going to be using it for a couple of years, why don't we have the option of letting them use it? We get in money that we wouldn't have. We have someone maintaining the property that knows how to maintain the property that we don't have to pay for. Get it all planned, then go ahead and build it. You can build it in phases, because if we try to do the whole park at the same time, you're talking $3-4 million. Again, where are you getting the money? So all I'm trying to do is explain to you, before you start jumping down anyone's throat, and in this case, I was the only one that was named on this, think about what you're doing. You're not just spending your money, you're spending everybody's money. There's a lot of residents that are in this village that they could care less about the sports center because they don't have any kids involved in it. They're on fixed incomes. Someone has to pay for this. We have to take a bond out. We have to do something. So if we're going to do something, why don't we take a few minutes, look at it, plan it, Get all you guys on a one-to-one to where you're all in here talking to the board, because this is the other thing you guys gotta understand. Mayor doesn't vote for this, the board votes for this. So you should have come to the board and said, what's going on? I had probably 15 people call me. They're not here tonight because they understood exactly what I was trying to do. But not one person called. It's real simple. You know, people that listen to rumors, I've always been one that if I hear something, because I've had neighbors, I moved in a new neighborhood, you don't want to hang around with this guy because he's a real idiot. You don't want to do anything with this one because they're horrible. I went and checked it out for myself. So why does everyone jump to a conclusion that I'm trying to stop something? I'm trying to make this the best that you possibly can. And a lot of you guys know me. You know, I'm on your side the whole time. Like I said again, my kid was in sports. I saw what you guys go through. I'm trying to do the exact same thing for you. So with this being the way it is, there's sometimes that I wonder, what do you guys think about? What do you think we do up here? You think we're just trying to make it hard for you? We're trying to make it the best we possibly could. When we had Dunn's Farm, that's why we wanted to do it, to bring all the sports people in. And if anyone ever saw Dunn's Farm, that's all flat back there. There's one big hill in the corner. The rest of it is flat. It's farmland. So it would have been easier to get that one done than this one, but Dunn's Farm, that's behind us. You've got wood by now when you own it. We have an opportunity here to do two things. Let's get it designed the way it should be designed. Let's find out where we're going to get this money from. Because don't forget, with this bond that we have, we've already borrowed correct me if I'm wrong, $15 million against this bond so far. So that means every single solitary year we have to pay the bond company $2 million. We already dipped into the bond money to buy this golf course, which we weren't supposed to do. That wasn't supposed to be for this golf course.
That's incorrect.
That was supposed to be for 159th Street, that was supposed to be for storm sewer, and that was supposed to be for the water line. We spent $1.2 million of that money for this project. Every year we have to make that payment. Our sales tax has been lower. Right now, if we had to make the payment, we wouldn't have enough money to pay the bill. So before we spend a ton of money, why don't we just sit back, take a deep breath, figure out what the baseball wants, what soccer wants, what football wants, what lacrosse wants. Let's figure out how we can do this to where we can use it. In the meantime, if you're looking for property to be able to practice on, and one gentleman said that, you know, how ridiculous is it that my son has to practice football in a cornfield. Sometimes, you know, at least when I was a kid, you made it wherever you could make it. You didn't have to have something that was pristine.
Doesn't have to be that way anymore. Not the taxes that we have.
The public got a chance to speak. This is the trustees' chance.
That's why we're trying to do what we're doing. See, this goes back to what I said before. A lot of you have it in your head that you're going to get cheated out of something. There is not one person. I'm standing with a whole board here and you telling you we want the parks. I want the parks. Never said I didn't want the parks. Who even told me that it was in there that I said that's what we want to do. But you don't buy something today and jump on it tomorrow. You have to fix it. We haven't fixed it. We haven't done the village hall yet. We have not done the senior center yet, or it even shouldn't be called the senior center. It's a community center. It should be for the whole community. The whole community paid for it. We haven't done anything with the outside, so why don't we just wait? Let's see what happens. It's going to go into place. I talked to someone in here that was on HAC. I was kind of hoping he would say something about it, but he didn't. He even told me before I said a word, it's a 3 to 4 year process to get all this stuff done. So that means for 3 to 4 years.
Hold on. It's the trustees' chance.
For 3 to 4 years, you have to pay for cutting the grass. You have to maintain everything.
Kids will be too old to use it if you don't.
Wait a second. Okay, this is the point. It goes back to what I said before. How do you plan on, if we have $0 right now?
That's not the fact. That is not the fact, and I'm going to clarify the facts when Trustee Yukich is finished. Are you done, George?
All I'm trying to say is please think first. That's it.
Okay. Now I'm going to clarify the facts. We're getting real plain and simple here. Nobody did anything to Mr. Ludwig. That property was going into foreclosure. The village bought that because they thought it was a good investment, a centrally located piece of property, and a very nice piece of property for the future of Homer Glen. Finances. There are multiple funds that have been built over the years to afford this. Now maybe Trustee Yukich, because he might not follow the Joint Water Agency. $8 million, when we set the bond in place, first of all, if you read the bond ordinance that was passed, it could be used for any municipal facilities. It says it right in it, I read it 20 minutes ago. Secondly, please, if you'd like to read the ordinance, I can go in my office and read it to you. Anyway, getting back to it, the Joint Water Agency. The Joint Water Agency, when we wanted to control the price of water, we wanted to be part of it, we wanted to purchase the Bedford Park transmission line. We had to create a bond in order to show the authorities, basically the judge, that we had the wherewithal to be, in an agency to be able to afford the our 21% of a estimate, that our estimate is about $37.4 million. That bond was issued, that bond money is in an account, okay? After that was shown that we had the wherewithal to do it, the Joint Water Agency made the ruling that they are going to create their own bond that is going to be, you're going to be reimbursed all costs from the Joint Water Agency. The 5 communities will have their own bond. The income, the financial side of this is what you pay Illinois American right now is what you will pay for the service of the bond. All money, legal fees, anything that came out of the general fund is coming back to you. So that $8 to $10 million that was set aside for Illinois American is for the purchase of the Bedford Park transmission line is coming directly back to the village. It's never leaving the village. So you have $8 to $10 million to do this park right now.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do. Soon as if we don't purchase the water line, the money's in the bond. Okay? If we purchase the water line, the Joint Water Agency is creating their own bond. The financial end of it is that the money that you pay Illinois American on Bedford Park transmission line will go to service the water agency bond, which means the $8 million will never go to the water agency. Do you follow that, George?
I know exactly what it is, but
yeah.
it's still in court, Jim. You have no idea how fast it's going to come back to you. So
the money is never going into the bond is going to be owned by the Joint Water Agency. The money is never going there.
You're saying
the reason why you created that bond and the reason why you had to create that bond is you had to show the court system that you had the wherewithal to be able to afford the system. Now, the Joint Water Agency decided they're going to create their own bond. And the funding mechanism that is going to pay for that bond is the revenue that's created that Illinois American gets right now. So you absolutely do have between $8 to $10 million to build this park. And don't let anybody tell you different than that. I'm the chairman of the Joint Water Agency, okay? Yeah. You have the money. You're getting a bunch of hoo-ha.
Share that money with all the community.
Trustee K. James.
Wow. First of all, I do want to acknowledge the fact you all showed up tonight. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the sports groups, the moms, dads, and the children who put together a strong, viable mechanism for our community to grow and to flourish. The youth groups is part of the cycle of our community. And I want to say thank you to the coaches, the presidents, and the dedicated people that volunteer for this. It teaches our children values, teamwork, sportsmanship, physical attributes that they can develop. So thank you. I also would like to thank the Ludwigs. They've been in this community for a long time. Circumstances turned upside down. about to be turned upside down for many, many people across this country and in this community, as well as businesses, for one reason or another. That does not mean our village should go to a business that is now going into bankruptcy, the local grocery store or whatever, and bail them out and let them operate for a year, 2 years, or that's a subsidy that we can't afford to do. If you do it for one, you do it for all.
No one's bailing anybody.
So, I do believe that there were some topics brought up, and I'm glad to hear one thing that Trustee Yukich did say about the tax base. The majority of tax base comes from our commercial property and commercial businesses in Homer Glen. Very important, very vital to this community that helps support and finance all the wonderful things that we have in this community. I also heard a topic about cutting a deal, and all the hoopla with that. I think the mayor needs to address that. I think that was inappropriate. But I'd like to tell you about a few life experiences of my own with you, if I could. This last summer, and my wife's in the audience, she can attest to it. I traveled with my wife and 4 daughters, loaded the car, the truck, and we drove to a community I grew up in. In this community, there's more horses than people and more groves than horses. And one thing that still stood tall and bright was the youth athletic fields in the center of town that I had great and fond memories of. And it was heartwarming for me to share those memories with my children. I think our parents and our children deserve the same thing. When I hear stories that they're borrowing fields in a different community, our own kids, and our kids, our community kids, going to different towns, traveling, practicing on unsanctioned fields. And I'll tell you a story about that. In 1976, I played football on an unsanctioned field called the Passing League through the high school, unsanctioned field for CIF. I did not walk away from that game. I got carried away from that game, tore my ACL and MCL. 6 knee operations later. Unsanctioned field, unsafe field. Those are memories that I carry with me to this day at 54, 55 years old, and the pain that goes along with it. So when I hear kids are playing on unsafe fields and we're crossing traffic on unsafe crossings across Parker or Lockport, I even heard that we were in Downers Grove, one of our youth groups. This is not right. This is a community of the whole, not for any special group. We talked about bonds and open space many years ago in the 8 million. Maybe some of the people here is once burnt, twice a fool. Maybe they're a little concerned they're going to be burnt again. Because that, if I remember, some of the literature was it was going to go, this open space, part of it was going to go to the active recreation. I don't believe any of us on this board are park designers or engineers, but it sure seems like we talk about a lot of other things about this park than how to move forward and progress. I think it's time we start talking about how we move forward and progress and be proactive instead of sitting back and trying to create a reaction to things, an emotional instability, if you will, if I may say that. Because all this hooey and hoopla, at the end of the day, a nickel and that hooey will give me a lousy cup of coffee. I heard some numbers thrown out from trustees, and at that, and I tried to record it, and I just stopped because they stopped making sense on those numbers. Boy, I would never write a business plan like that. But a financial business plan. I think this board needs to move forward, go to the next logical step, bring in an expert that can lay out a temporary and long-term plan for the community, for active and passive recreation, active for our sports and youth programs, active for the community, passive for the citizens, for the life cycle of this community, from senior citizens on down to the new family that moved in with young kids. The best thing that could happen is my kids want to move back to Homer Glen to raise a family, because there's activities to raise families. And then they could grow old in this community, as I'm planning on doing. Grow old in this community, and there's recreation and activities for people my age. That's the life cycle of the community. It can't be one-sided or the other side. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to see this board move forward. I can't see us sharing an occupancy with a retail business at will, even though the retailer and the business owner, good man, good family, but we are conducting a multi-million-dollar operation for the village of Homer Glen and their residents. I think we need to move forward with the village hall as a professional outfit, a professional organization, and provide the recreation spaces for all of us in Homer Glen. Not just a few, but all of us. And in the meantime, if we just could do some little bit here and a little bit there to get it progressed, let's do it for temporary sites. Let's do it.
Okay, well, I'm the last trustee, but I may not be the last person to speak tonight. the way things are going. First of all, I want to tell you, many people don't know this, excuse me, but my daughter was in softball. And softball from a young age, we didn't live in Homer at the time. My heart went out to those parents that had to prepare the fields that we played at. They had to collect the equipment and make sure it was in good condition. They had to deal with the parents. And then she went to high school and played softball. And then in between the summers, we traveled. I wore out one of my very good vans, the kind that, lumber along and you can even sleep in the back. And we went to many places in the United States. So I commend those parents who are sticking with the program and want their children to have something more than the video games and want them to be outside. I want to say that there are a lot of devoted members and parents here, but there are also some parents and residents that are not here. And we don't know what they think. And we had planned to have a meeting with them, and still do, to hear what all residents have to say. And even in your own family, you have people who are interested in something else. Every child isn't the same. They may be interested in one sport and not the other, like their brother. They may be interested in no sports. So that's why the trustees, and many of them have said, it should be for everyone. And I was quoted by someone tonight that said, I believe that we're all taxpayers, we all deserve to have a right to use this property. And so, first of all, I'll say, I don't know why people thought that coming here that they would hear something else or that we're ready to fight. I feel like some of you were told something that wasn't quite true. And why create a division where there really isn't any? And why pit groups against each other? Trustee Yukich's reason for bringing forth the idea of meeting with the Ludwigs was to find out if they were interested in continuing with the golf course and maintaining the grounds, because they were trying to save their golf course. Even though the bank had it, the bank does allow for the owner of the property to try to keep it. And that's true with homeowners who are on the verge of losing their home. They make some agreement. And for the family's sake, I wish that that could have happened. However, it did not happen. And Trustee Uke just trying to work out something so that the taxpayers of the village do not have to pay for something that isn't necessary. Because redoing the inside first is one thing, and doing the outside is another. And all of these take time. So I don't know what using the property temporarily would mean. I don't know what that would mean for the people. Walk on the property, use it, play some ball. You know, what are the rules? We don't know. That's a big void that really would have to be discussed. So I'm always concerned about spending money. I don't like to spend my own very often unless I have to. And so I look at the village in the same way. But I understand that, and it was brought up at the last meeting that we had here, that there was a private meeting among sports groups. And I don't know what transpired there, but the result was, you're here. And there are letters on some websites. And this is premature, because we wanted everyone to be here. Everyone. You could write in, you could say what you would like, and so forth. But we wanted to address and bring all residents, all represented here. Now, what's happening tonight is that a majority of you are with the sports groups. I find no issue with sports groups, and I think it's a lot of fun to be able to coach, to be able to teach. It's very rewarding, and to be able to have children to work with. But we as trustees have to look at everybody. How about handicapped children that have no place to go, that have no place, no playground? There was a group of parents that came here that asked the village, that explained to the village their problem. And that's a group that's considered that has very special needs. How about a village green like Frankfurt has, where people gather for many reasons, for concerts, for movies, for arts and craft shows, for benefits that benefit whatever organization. It could be yours, whatever organization you like or are involved in. So I'm also concerned about the people who live immediately around the golf course. Those people are going to be impacted greater than anybody. And their living conditions will be affected more than any other residents. The Woodbine subdivision is already developed. It was developed a long time ago. Most people knew what was going to be there. However, I know another case of Woodbine West that did not exist. It wasn't even heard of. It was a blank, it was an undeveloped piece of property on Cream Road. However, the sports fields that the township have and operate were there. And people that were talking to that particular developer said, well, what about those sports fields? And the developer said, they're going to be gone. You won't have a problem. So they bought the lots, and they waited, and nothing happened. Nothing moved, nothing left. The lights were on late at night. The lights were in their windows. I don't know how they put up with it. But they came to the township and complained, when are you moving your sports fields? And the township didn't know anything about that. And it wasn't just one or two residents. And that was a shame. Now we have the reverse here, where there is developed property. And we must watch out for those residents. We are now the developer. We are not the Woodbine type, West type developer. So we also wanted ideas from residents so that before the architect even worked on the property, that we even had architect input or their plans that we wanted to hear from the residents, but that did not happen, that was put off. Woodbine property provides a great opportunity for all types of recreation and community use. Everyone should have an opportunity to provide ideas. We should all be working together to make that happen, to understand that what your needs are different than somebody else's. And what their needs are maybe different than yours, but you do have a common bond. And that is, we want to plan a good park in a wonderful location that we can all be proud of. And at this time, the board has taken little action other than what you've heard tonight. And I would like to say that a letter came to me from a resident about stages of planning and seeking public input first, developing a master plan, and we do have a parks plan, and a timeline and a means to pay for the plan and development. So the residents and the board must work together. But there's another side. As you know, I'm chairman of the Environment Committee. That motto up there is very important to a lot of people that live in this community. It's important to people who look at this community. It's important for people who want to move in. And we've heard a lot about that. And we'd like to keep our community as safe as possible. And you know that we're the 21st out of thousands. And it took 2 years. There was a grant. It took 2 years in the making to come up with what was called the green vision of the Homer Glen community. And that was an input from residents. Anyone could attend. It took 2 years to do this. It is on the website. You can look at it. It involves sports. It involves transportation. It involves water resources. It involves community character and image. And so in those categories are quite a lot of information. They all affect you. And so I have said to the chairman of the Parks and Recreation Committee that we would like to forward or work with the committee to implement some ideas that other towns have done, other park districts, other municipalities, other forest preserves, following the theme of leave no child inside. In other words, we'll have a place outside for them. It could be sports, it could be a nature area, it could be a scientific area, it could be an area that children find themselves lost in. And as a child growing up, I made mud pies. And I used a lot of imagination outside. I camped outside in the backyard, and what an adventure that was. And there are scout groups that may want to use the property. So I'm just saying that a child should have creativity also, besides being organized. There's time alone for a child, there's time with others, there's time independent time, and so forth. And I'd say that all of what you want and all of the things that other people want that are not representing here. I didn't hear anything about the environment, so those people aren't here. And I didn't call them here. I didn't have a public meeting at my house. I didn't call Core Lands, Open Lands, Conservation Foundation, Land Stewardship, any wild native plant group. I didn't do that because it wouldn't have been right. It's for all of us together to work together, and that is what we must do. So you came here with an idea that somebody was against you. He is not. Or maybe you thought we all were against you, or you got some misinformation. I hope you go home knowing that we are all being very, very thoughtful about this. Your children are important. Their needs are important. What are their needs? We want to know because we're going to have another meeting, or maybe more than one meeting, to hear that. We can use this property so effectively. It will be a great adventure to go through. It will also be an adventure for anyone who uses it. And I thank you.
We heard a little bit from each one of the trustees here tonight, and I guess the next decision has to be made. It can't be made tonight because it's not on the agenda, as to whether or not the village board is going to stick to the lease that was signed with Mr. Ludwig for 1 year, or whether or not they believe that it should be extended for a second year. That will have to come up in legislation, if I'm correct. Is that correct, village attorney?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So that will be on the agenda here in the near future. As we conclude hearing from you and you hearing from the trustees, I want you to know that there's going to be a lot of public input into this. This is a big project that we do want everybody involved. The question here at hand is, should it be used as temporary fields in the next year? And I think you heard where I stand. I think you heard where some of the other trustees have concerns, and we will once in a jig, once again, get this on the agenda, have a vote on it, and we live in a democracy, so everybody has a vote. So I thank you all for coming out tonight, and we are going to adjourn this meeting because we do have a village board meeting right behind us. So thank you all for coming tonight. First by trustee Costa. Second by trustee Sweet. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carried. The special meeting is adjourned.
Okay, the discussion on this one had to do with the liquor ordinance. And I want to commend our clerk, Gail Scarbutin, because she listened to those minutes a number of times in countless hours. But she could only, because that's the only thing that she can do, is and did it well, to record what she heard. There were, when we received the committee's draft of the liquor amendments, there were many things in there that were crossed out. And that they weren't mentioned because they were agreed upon or not necessary to discuss. So I just wanted to say for these minutes, not everything that changed or was amended in the ordinance is in here. Only what Gail heard at the meeting, which is rightfully and correct to have her do it that way. So if this alone was used to refer to the changes in the ordinance, it would not be complete. So I am only suggesting that the last red line copy be attached to these minutes for reference, if that is possible.
That's fine. Okay.
That's my comment.
Okay. We'll add a red line copy to the minutes. Is there any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo? Aye. Trustee Pajanis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
No.
Okay.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
All right, this would be F. Is there a motion to approve the accounts payable for the period of March 27th through April 23rd, 2014?
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo.
Second.
Second by trustee Sweeze. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead, trustee Sabo.
I was just handed by our manager, Cameron Davis, two things here. One pertains to remodeling of Woodbine, and one pertains to stormwater education and membership, which should be moved to the general fund. So how are you saying we go about this?
Those are for the budget.
Pardon me?
Yeah, those are the budget.
Oh, for the budget. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I still have that. There is excuse me, one page. 24, it's mentioned, and also on page, the second. Well, anyway, on page 24, it's capital outlay, the CIP bond fund. I would like to see that moved to another category. It shouldn't come out of that for this month of March.
Yes, I'll make that change. That wouldn't be a problem.
Okay, and then where would you place it?
This is, are you speaking of the membership or?
I'm talking about stormwater improvement, no, I'm talking about stormwater education and membership, 7,500 is for the Hickory Creek membership.
Yeah, that's the budget item. We're going to put that in the general fund under other expenditures in a separate line item titled stormwater education and membership.
Okay, and then what would you do with this, the billing for March?
It'll be corrected.
It will be corrected for
Yes,
March then?
that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, is there any further comment?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Just a second.
go ahead.
John had answered some of my questions, and I just wanted to, I'm quickly looking over the answers. Where it comes under motor fuel tax, I know that in the past, when it has been a ComEd bill, it has been listed as ComEd.
On the schedule of accounts payable, it'll appear as ComEd, but that's the treasurer's report you're looking at.
Yeah.
It's titled electric,
Yeah,
so electric streetlights.
okay.
So I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, because I didn't know if that was ComEd.
It is ComEd's, and the schedule of accounts payable builds all those balances in the financial statement, so nothing's really changed there.
Okay. And then I did ask you about, there were two, there was an amount that was listed twice under the general fund and also under the motor fuel tax. And you said the payments to, and they were for street signage, there were payments to signs now for the entrance signs were originally charged MFT, but were corrected in March, which is why it's negative in the MFT and positive in the general fund. Okay, now I understand that. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any other comments?
No, thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Pajanis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet? Aye. Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVito?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be G, this is an appointment. Is there a motion to approve the appointment of Cassandra Cartwright to the Village of Homer Glen's Park and Recreation Committee?
So moved.
First by Trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by Trustee Costa. Is there any discussion?
I just have a quick comment, Mayor.
Yep.
I think she has a good background. She seems like she was really involved in sports, and being on the Parks Committee, I hope she, keep in mind that Woodbine will be for everyone, and not just sports groups. But I think, she has a good vibe.
I'm sure Marcia will relay that. Okay, is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet? Aye. Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVito?
Aye.
Trustee Pajanis?
Aye.
Okay, the H would be, the regular meeting will be in recess for the purposes of conducting a public hearing. Is there a motion to go to open the public hearing on the Village of Homer Glen FY 2014-2015 budget?
So moved.
First by Trustee Costa,
I second.
second by Trustee Sweets. All in favor, say aye. Well, you know what, the village attorney says take a roll call. Can I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo. Aye. Trustee Janice.
Aye.
Trustee Stable.
Motion carries. The public hearing on the proposed 2014-15 budget is open for comments. The public hearing is designed to allow residents to state their opinions and or concerns. It is not a question and answer session. Given that, is there anyone that wishes to comment on the village's proposed budget? Go right ahead, Dennis. Name and address for the record.
Dennis Kirby, 12250 West Kirby Lane, Homer Glen. Good job on this, Cameron. Got about 75 pages he put together there, and took a lot of work, I'm sure. I have a number of questions concerning this budget. Well, not questions, but I have some things that I don't quite understand. And I'm not an accountant, don't claim to be, but there's a few things in there that give me a little bit of a problem. I think that the passing of this budget should be postponed. I think there should be some type of special meeting where folks like myself and maybe a few others would have a chance to come in here and meet with Cameron, perhaps the village attorney and the treasurer, and get some explanations on some of these things that are troubling us. One thing that stands out in my mind is on, I forget what page is, 70-something. It mentions the Opticon for 159th Street, the payment of that out of the bond fund. And I believe that it was said with the passage of video gaming that video gaming money would be used to pay for the Opticon installations throughout the village. So I guess my statement, I'm not going to get an answer by it. I guess my statement is, why is it listed under the bond fund when it should be under general revenue? So I think that, and by the way, I was told that the budget has to be into Will County by May 1st. And in speaking with Christie at the Will County Clerk's office today, she said not necessarily. You have up to 30 days after passage to get it submitted to the county. If you don't make it by then, they'll get a little bit frisky with you, but she said you do have up to 30 days after passage of the budget. So it doesn't necessarily have to be passed tonight, and I, for one, would like to have an opportunity to meet with people I previously mentioned to discuss a few of the items that are just sitting a little bit on my mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else that'd like to speak in public comment? Go ahead, John. The address for the record.
John Croy, 12056 Venetian Way, Orland Park, Illinois. We just have a couple of, well, I got a few. Page 17, salaries projected. The actual was $384,000. Now we're having a request for $513,000. In there, and I don't understand who's going to receive a merit performance and what the funds are in that account. The intern contract went from in 2014 from 11,230, then in 2014 it's up to 14,000. Now all of a sudden it's been requested that it goes up even to 20,736. To me, that's an awful lot of money for an increase for an intern. If I'm not mistaken, he's only here, what, once a month? Get that. I haven't seen him but one time. Safety public liaison, 15,000. Have no idea who it is. What's it? Does it involve the high school? Does it involve the building here? Or is it, what's the building liaison? That's on page 19. The intern was on page 8. Page 22, personnel salaries. In 2013, it was 40,000. Now all of a sudden we're up to 86,500. Big increase there too. Total for the economic development. Now, starting out at 86,000 up to 106,000. There's a big increase there, way over what I would surmise would be, for this day and age in the economy the way it is. County didn't even get a raise. All of a sudden, we're talking $26,000 a year raise. Economic development, big difference there, 52 to 132,000. Land acquisition fund, almost double, from 60,000 to 1,101,000. That's on page 41. Page 53. Transfer of general funds, $1,500,000. There's another question. Where did that come from? We're transferring all this money. I think that there should be a meeting where people can ask questions, like Dennis just suggested. We have no idea, and I don't think anybody out of all the people that were here previous to this meeting knew where all this money was going, where it came from, or anything. We had to argue to get a copy just so we could see where some of this stuff was going. Well, we still can't figure out where it came from or where it goes. Page 56. Okay, bond principal, $1,315,000. Bond interest, $68,000. Total, $1,996,000. Now, in the ordinance, which you read from earlier, or took one paragraph out of, ordinance 12-039, to be tax sufficient and to be able to pay the bond off. In ordinance, a sum amount of $2,800,000 be paid yearly. Is that right, John?
This isn't question and answer.
Okay.
I'll
In other words,
have John.
I'd like to find out too,
I'll have
because
John address some of your comments after public comment.
the ordinance says this is what should be put in there yearly, and all of a sudden, I didn't see no place on the thing where $2,800,000 was even entered. Then all of a sudden, okay, page 58, 59, beginning balance, $4,135,000. Village Hall remodeling, $2,250,000. I know that there's a lot of big monies in things that all of a sudden is where it's coming from, where's it going. Page 67, bond money was for Homer Glen's at the meeting, and the minutes were written. I have them with me, and you know yourself, because you read the ordinance, the third paragraph, on the first or second page. It was written after the meeting, and everybody that was at that bond meeting was under the assumption that what our trustees said, that money should be used for three purposes. And Cinnamon Creek and all the rest of them were on the back burner until we got funding somewhere else, and the bond money should not be used for this stuff. And as this right here, flood control units, $10,000. Sewer lines, Opticom, not supposed to be used there. Why are we doing all of this stuff that's not supposed to be, you're not supposed to use the money for this stuff?
Thank you. John, you want to answer any of these? Well, first of all, does anybody else want to make comment? Okay. If there's no more public comment today, ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo, second by trustee Kay Janis. Please call the roll.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo? Aye. Trustee Kay Janis?
Aye.
Trustee Zabel? Aye. Trustee Swayze? Aye.
Motion carries. The meeting will be called back to order. Before we go to reports and communications from the mayor and other officers, John, do you want to briefly? I heard a lot about these are simply transfers from one account to the other. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, he started out with salaries, and he was talking about the 10-month number through fiscal 14, and comparing that to the budget for fiscal 15. So you're missing 2 months there. Some of the other departments had vacancies, so when you look at what, they're not increases, they're positions that were filled. So you're extrapolating the full year next year. The intern was paid out of the salary line item in 14, and he's going to be paid out of it's a contract with Northern Illinois for 15. But really, the one thing I wanted to point out was Fund 65 is the debt service fund, which only has home rule sales tax and bonds. And for fiscal 14, it's going to have a surplus of about $400,000 or $500,000 to be available to retire debt early. And in fiscal 15, it's budgeted to have a $500,000 surplus. So the $2.8 billion that you talked about, I think was part of the original bond ordinance, which had a huge authorization amount, a $25 million authorization amount. We never did that. You know, we did significantly less. So there's a lot of things out of context, and that's the way numbers are. If you know.
Okay.
Every situation is the way they are.
Mayor, we're always happy to. The only exception I would make is, you agree, they came and got the budgets, and I came out and asked them to copy them and give them to them. We gave budgets to 4 people that asked for them from the public. They all got full, complete copies, all 70 many pages there. But we're always happy to meet with people. I mean, John and I, on the day that John is here, because everybody knows he's only here a couple days a week, we're happy to sit down with 1 hour, 2 hours over coffee, whatever, and answer every single question, because there'll be a good answer for everyone.
Good. John, do you see anything?
How many questions? They got 100 lines from all.
Do you see anything out of line with the proposed budget?
No, it's a balanced budget. There's a lot of significant endeavors with the capital projects, which is common. You build up funds to pay for significant capital project work, and that's what we're doing. We're going to make that final balloon payment on the tollway. So a lot of good things and a lot of big numbers. That is true.
Okay, thank you. All right, then the next portion of this meeting would be reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. The village received notice last week that Standard & Poor's has elevated the village's bond rating from AA to AA+. The new rating is based on several factors, most notably the village's strong management policies and good financial practices. This is excellent news that continues to prove the point that Homer Glen is a great investment. Under economic development update, at the last village board meeting, I reported that Homer Glen will soon have its first ever full-service independent bakery. Artesa Bakery will occupy the former Something Sweet Cupcake Boutique at 14045 South Bell Road. I'm happy to announce that Artesa Bakery will open at the end of April. I also have more great news to share with all of you. Another Homer Glen entrepreneur signed a lease for a 2,078 square foot place next to Backyard Games at the Ruby Agave building on 159th Street. The location will be the new home of Style Me Couture, a bridal and evening wear showroom and rental business. The store's address, a gap in Homer Glen's current business mix. Addresses a gap in Homer Glen's business mix. Under cleanup, Spring Creek and Meadow Creek. Meadowview and Spring Creek Trail include detention ponds that were severely overgrown with significant amounts of standing water. The standing water posed health concerns in the adjacent property owners, both in terms of attracting mosquitoes and the inherent safety issue of high water for young children. At the village board's meeting, August 13th meeting, a proposal from Homer Tree Care Service was approved, allowing the cleaning of approximately 0.68 acres in the Meadowview subdivision detention pond at Sparrow Court and Trailside. Homer Tree Care Service also cleaned approximately 1.5 acres in the Spring Creek Trail subdivision detention pond at Mackinac Road and Bell Road. Homer Tree Care cleaned an area approximately 100 feet wide on each of the ponds, 50 feet on each side of the main channel flowing through the ponds. Now that the area has been cleared by Homer Tree Care, both the village and the highway department staff will be able to better determine the cause of the blockages and attempt to remove them, thus allowing the water to flow. Now let's continue with reports from trustees. I'll start down with Trustee Bedivo.
Just a quick comment. I want to thank everyone for voting Cassandra Courtwright to the Parks and Recreation Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bedivo. Trustee Suisse?
I will save my report for next week. Next month.
Okay. Trustee K. Janice?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just really quickly. Earlier, we announced about 4 ribbon cuttings today for new businesses in Homer Glen. Backyard games with custom-made games for their backyard. Impressive shop that they have there. The other one is Simply Salsa. It used to be next door. Product is excellent. You got a chance to taste it. The other one is Ruby Agave. Excellent food. Great job with the atmosphere and the decor inside. Looks like a whole new place. So, and the other one is CrossFit. They have classes there for the public. It's all located at 12622 159th Street. Wish them all the best of luck. They have some dynamic products and services to offer the community. And thank you to Cameron and Janie and staff for organizing this four-address ribbon cutting. It was right on task. Thank you. Other announcement I'd like to make is one of our insurance agency, Michelle Coakley, who happens to be also the president of the Chamber of Commerce with the insurance company, located at 14051 Bell Road, is having her 5-year anniversary coming up here in Homer Glen. She wants to have Customer Appreciation Day at her State Farm business on Saturday, May 23rd at 12 p.m. Food, beverages, and more. She just wants to send a message out to say thank you to her customers and to the community. So again, congratulations to all these locations. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee K. Janice. Just a little follow-up for Simply Salsa. It was really nice to hear that she landed 15 different accounts with Mariano's. So she's making the salsa here in Homer Glen, and she'll be supplying 15 locations for Mariano's. Trustee Sabo?
Okay, I'm reporting for the Environment Committee, and I'm going to be talking about Earth Day as the first topic. And it's to take place at Kona Farm, Homer Glen, on May 17th, 11 to 4. There's no entrance fee and parking is free. Since 2008, the event has been very well attended. There will be a green market and good products from which to purchase. Good selections. Many children's activities will be available, such as pony rides, hands-on activity, educational opportunities, and Home Depot will provide craft projects. Booths will have energy-saving ideas, outdoor living and gardening ideas, eco cars, and antique cars will be on display. Live animals will be shown by Amazing Bats, Illinois Horse Rescue of Will County, Illinois Raptors, Birds of Prey, and Pilcher Park Nature Center. A performance will take place from 1:30 to 2:30 by cold-blooded creatures featuring Baba the alligator and other reptiles such as a python and tortoise. And I'm saving a surprise that Walter Kono has put in one of his buildings that the children will love. It's duplicating panning for gold. No gold, but you get something else. And the Environment Committee is looking for more people who create projects from recycled materials and items from natural sources. Demonstrations are welcome. Not-for-profit groups are encouraged to share their information. The Environment Committee is seeking new members who are interested in assisting with the committee's goals. You can contact the village and get more information. Second topic is Arbor Day 2014. The Arbor Day tree planting is scheduled for Friday, April 25th, that's this Friday, at 4:30 p.m. at the Northwest Fire Station near Goodings Grove. A red oak tree will be planted that is 5 to 6 inches in diameter and about 20 feet tall. The public is invited to attend and watch the tree being planted. April 25th is the actual day that is designated for Arbor Day in Illinois. And the tree will be planted on the 25th if the ground is suitable to handle large equipment. Otherwise, another day will be selected. And we'll inform the public of that, inform the board, the mayor, and manager, and trustees. The fire department has taken very good care of a large bur oak that was planted by the Environment Committee in 2002. This was the first tree planted for Arbor Day in Homer Glen. That's my report.
Thank you, Trustee Sabo. Trustee Yukich?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All I'm going to do is be reporting on a bunch of emails that I've gotten from residents in the village about the park that we are going to be going into. And I didn't bring all of them because I didn't want to make this a midnight meeting, but you had your ones that didn't have any information on it, that they were just trying to find out what we were doing for the sports groups. But the other ones that came in mostly were positive. Certainly the majority of citizens support the idea of more parks and practice fields for the children, but please encourage the board to first seek public input and then develop a plan, timeline, and a means to pay for the plan, which we haven't done yet. Another one here was directed at the sports groups, and it said, since you are an advocate, this is directed towards the all three of them. Since you're an advocate of the Woodbine reconstruction and having committed to promoting it on the Steigen's website, kindly provide the following as well. Where did the initial payment come for the purchase of Woodbine? What are the projected figures on the cost of build-out for office space, which we don't know yet, as well as the infrastructure for the fields, which we don't know yet, before any type of sports field can be built? Where will the money be coming from to finish these projects? Again, we don't know that. Are we aware that such actions can initiate referendum to initiate a park district, which will add a municipal tax, diminish the existence or need of all sports groups? Since the sports groups are according to your letter, a huge advantage of these advancements, will they be making considerable donations to aid in the construction of the facility in which they will use? Why do I not see information from the Homer Athletic Club website confirming their personal support, as you have indicated they have shared support? Then it says on the bottom, please do not misinterpret my intentions. The purpose of this letter is to make sure that you make an educated decision, you back an entity in which you do not have all the answers for. If you cannot provide answers to these questions, then I strongly suggest you revisit your alliance before committing to any entity. And there's another one that's just way too long. But all they're saying is that we have to do our due diligence. That's what we were elected for. And their opinion of what this should be done is pretty much what we have talked about too, is create a master plan for the property, seek public input, which tonight was the first one we did, and this was kind of a surprise to me because all of a sudden letters started popping up. You got to come to this meeting and you got to speak out. You got to tell everyone that you don't want this to be a golf course. You know? Again, all the people were misled because that's not what the intention was. So we need to start being a little bit more transparent with this board, working together, not one person going out and trying to make deals for the whole board and then coming to us and saying, well, this is what I want to do. This is something that should be discussed with the village before anything is done, and it is not. And all I'm saying is for right now, everything that does come before this, if we don't have the information, I will not vote on it, and I will explain why each time. There's too many things that are getting past this board, and then we find out after the fact that what we were told is not what was being done. One example was Dottie's. I went over the tape from the night of the meeting, and I also went over YouTube. When I listened to it, the man from Dottie's came up and said that he would do whatever it took to get a license to be able to do what he wants. He said he would go along with what the ordinance was. Now, after everything's said and done, we're told that we have to grandfather them in because we did give them a license, and the whole thing is we were all pushed very hard to give a license for this thing. We didn't do our homework before we did this. We should have done our homework, and I accept just as much responsibility as anybody else. But then when I got a notice from the lawyers, and at the end of the meeting, Cameron had said that we will get a hold of you within the next few weeks and let you know what the outcome is from the liquor ordinance. Unfortunately, the liquor ordinance wasn't finished until 6 months later, maybe 7. In the meantime, they were given a building permit and they moved into a building. Ordinance changed, and now we're told that we have to grandfather them in, or we don't have to. I guess we still have an option where we could say no, but it wouldn't be fair to the business that wants to come in here. My issue is we say things before we should say things. We do things before they should be completed. We do not take enough time to look into every single solitary thing that could affect this village. And I myself am getting real tired of it. Because if we discuss something and this is what is said, that's exactly what should be done, and it's not happening here. And then when I read the comments from the village, from some of the residents, they feel the exact same way. This is not the way government should be run. We are here, we're a small community, and we are here for the people of this village. And that's exactly the way we should be doing our business, and we are not. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Yukich. Trustee Costa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to report for our Fest Committee. Our Fest is scheduled for June 26th through June 29th. That's Thursday through Sunday. Fireworks night is also scheduled for the 26th, which is Thursday night, with Friday night being a rain night, just in case Thursday bad. We also have our parade on that Saturday. 10 o'clock lineup, 11 o'clock the parade kicks off. It will be the same route as we have had for a number of years. You line up on 151st Street, and the parade will go from 151st and Parker, north on Parker past the park, and then end just south of 143rd Street. If you want to get involved or participate in the parade, you can call the Homer Township Administration Building. They have applications that are going to be available, so you can get parade lineup. Now, for bands, I reported earlier, we do have a number of good bands this year, as we always do. Thursday night, Maggie Speaks will be performing. Friday night, 80s Enough will open up the evening with High Infidelity, the second band. On Saturday, Reverend Bob, then Crazy Uncles, Sinister Finch, and then Infinity will end up on Saturday. It's been a long night. I'm sorry, I apologize. Infinity. Sunday, we have got Forecast and then one of these nights. So we've got great bands coming out again. Pretty much every kind of music you can think of is going to be played here. One thing the group is looking at this year, our committee, is having a special night, which would be Thursday. It will be earlier, right before, a couple hours before the event starts. We're looking to have a special needs event. This would be open to residents of our community whose children have special needs, who at times just can't get to the facility and get around the park, and especially the amusement park when you have hundreds and hundreds of kids. So next meeting, hopefully, I can report the final plans for that. We're hoping to get, again, residents with kids with special needs out there so they can enjoy the amusement park and the games without hundreds and thousands of kids running all around. I think this would be a great event for the community. Once again, community service and volunteering. If you're a high school student, you need community service. It's a very good opportunity for you. You can call the Village Hall or the Township Administration Building. Put your name in. Trust me, you will be contacted to come out and volunteer your time. Mr. Mayor, that's my report.
Thank you, Trustee Costa. Does the treasurer have a report?
Yes, Mayor, I have the Treasurer's Report of Cash and Investments as of March 31st, 2014. It's the 11th month of fiscal 14, progressing along really well. The general fund had cash and investments of $6,245,947.53. The motor fuel tax fund had a balance of $2,107,494.35. The park fund had a cash and investment balance of $889,498.58. And the capital project fund had a balance of $21,854,936.28. That concludes my report.
Thank you, John. Okay, does the clerk have a report?
No report.
Does the village attorney have a report?
Village attorney has no report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any task force chairpersons have any reports tonight? Okay. How about any public safety officials? Does the village manager have a report? Thank you, Mayor and Board. I have a couple items. First, I want to wish Trustee Sabo a very happy birthday. Today is her birthday. So God bless her birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
49.
49 forever.
Then I have just a couple other items, Mayor. I mentioned earlier when you were under the public comment section, anybody that has questions about the budget from the public would be happy to sit down with. So you just call John, and John will schedule a time that him and I can sit down. He's here tomorrow if you want to give a call. He can schedule up an appointment with you at your convenience. The monthly totals for state video gaming are out for March. They increased about 21,000 here. The net terminal video gaming income increased about 21,000 up to 71,200. That'll be in my weekly report for you to review. We have selected the committee. The RFQ committee, we've been kind of referring to it, has recommended 3 firms for the board to consider in terms of architectural services. And that is Williams Architects, White, W-I-G-H-T, and Dewberry Architects. And these are the architects that the board will be getting presentations from. I've distributed the RFQ documents from those 3 firms. We also have the other 19 or 18, I guess, copies from the other firms that are in my office if anybody would like to compare and contrast. But those are the 3 firms. You have on your agenda tonight a suggestion for a meeting, special meeting, just to hear those presentations. And so I can answer any questions about that when we get to it. This coming month, at the start of the month, just to give you a little heads up, we'll have at least 3, if not 4 more ribbon cuttings. Sleepy's Mattress Professionals are going to be moving into their store here in the next couple weeks. We have one that we have to catch up with the mortgage. And then, of course, the bakery that the mayor mentioned earlier. There's one more that I'm forgetting. So there are 4 ribbon cuttings coming up in addition to the 4 that we did today. And finally, the last item I think that I'd just like to report on is that Scott Chance and I have been spending, Scott is our staff person that I've kind of charged with finding out as much information as he can possibly about the Woodbine building. He does all of our plan review and most of our plan review. He's very knowledgeable in these matters. So him and I have been spending quite a bit of time kind of analyzing, looking, doing measurements of square footage in an effort to kind of compare and contrast a little bit between this building and the Woodbine building that's there. So we are available for any of the trustees to sit down and meet with on an individual basis or in groups of 2, whatever you'd like to do. I know Trustee DeVivo was in the office today. She stopped in and wanted a little better understanding, so we sat down with her. I think you found it useful in terms of square footage. So anybody else that would like to do that, please give me a call or text or email me, and Scott and I will make ourselves available to you and sit down with you. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next portion of the meeting will be public comment. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. The only speaker tonight is Glen McGarry. Glen, name and address for the record.
Glen McGarry, 14104, Garibaldi, Homer Glen. I'm not even going to say Orland Park. I'm just here on behalf of the Chamber to invite you all to our golf outing. It's going to be on June 6th at Old Oak, and it's going to be a morning one with a 2 o'clock luncheon instead of late in the evening, and I hope you all consider it, and I'll give you all a flyer before I leave.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay, that concludes public comment. The next items on the agenda are the legislation and action items. This would be K1. Is there a motion to approve a proclamation designating May 4th through May 10th, 2014 as Municipal Clerks Week in the Village of Homer Glen? So moved. First by Trustee Kay Janis, second by Trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo? Aye. Trustee Kay Janis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo? Aye. Trustee Suisse? Aye. Trustee Yukich?
Aye. Motion carries. This would be K2. Is there a motion to approve the attached proclamation declaring April 25th, 2014 as Arbor Day in the Village of Homer Glen?
I so move.
First by Trustee Sabo. Second by Trustee Kay Janis. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo? Aye. Trustee Kay Janis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo? Aye. Trustee Suisse? Aye. Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve a proclamation in support of Earth Day, Arbor Day on May 17, 2014?
I so move.
First by trustee Sabo.
Second.
Second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee K. Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse? Aye. Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be K4. Is there a motion to approve a contract with TLC Group for landscape maintenance services of village park and bike trail properties from April 1st, 2014 through November 30th, 2014? It is understood that this particular agreement will not exceed $26,613.60 for landscape maintenance services rendered during the 2014 season.
So moved.
First by trustee Sabo.
Second.
Second by, that was trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion?
I just had a question.
Sure.
In the past, it has not included the corner on 51st and Bell. Does this include the corner?
No, I don't want to sign up.
No. Okay, thank you.
I would just follow up on that, though. I think one of our challenges with, one of the reasons it didn't is because there was a level of dissatisfaction on how the vendor that we had selected, which is not this vendor, how they were mowing that parcel. So if there is a desire to give this vendor a try and see if they would be able to cut that space in a way that meets everyone's expectations, then we could potentially do that. It would be, we could talk about doing that.
But it's not in here now.
It is not in here now.
Well, we are happy with the way things have been going.
Okay.
And there's a timing on certain things for mulch and for using certain products, and it's outlined. I think a firm like this probably wouldn't want to do it.
Sure, just an option.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo? Aye. Trustee K. Janice?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be K5. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the release of the letter of credit for the Crystal Creek Estate subdivision in the amount of $88,253.08? It is understood that this is a full and complete release of the LOC associated with the project.
So moved.
First by trustee Costa.
Second.
Second by trustee Sweet. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Suisse? Aye. Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee Costa? Trustee DeVivo? Aye. Trustee K. Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be K6. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 14-022, an ordinance adopting the proposed Village of Homer Glen budget for fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2014 and ending April 30th, 2015?
I so moved.
First by trustee Sabo, second by trustee K. Janice. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Yes, no.
Go ahead, trustee Suisse.
I have a few questions.
Go right ahead.
Do I have to, if I wanted to?
I would direct them to the finance director.
Well, no, it's a procedure. If I wanted to change something, like say, for example, in the stormwater, do I have to propose a motion to remove stormwater from the CIP?
That question would be a question for the attorney.
So like he said, the stormwater education membership is going to be removed from the CIP bond fund. It's going to be put into the general fund, line items, membership, and communication. So do I have to get that done? Do I have to make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we get to that part, I will. Okay.
You should ask John the question about whether that's necessary to do.
We would have no problem doing that with just a switch. It wouldn't really, it would of course reduce the capital, the bond fund's expenditure from the proposed budget. If we did that and moved it to the general fund, we would reduce the contingency by the same amount. So the total general fund expenditures would remain the same.
Right.
So,
Okay, does anybody on the board have a problem with trustee Sweeze's recommendation?
And I just want to say, that's what I handed out earlier. There are actually two items, and just for trustee, just if I could, Mike, so you can hear me out. Trustee Costa had another suggestion, and so you see that on the document that I handed out just a little bit ago. questions, one from trustee Suisse and one from trustee Costa.
Okay.
You might want to do them both at the same time if you're so inclined.
Okay, so the other change that trustee Costa was recommending is to rename line item number 70-00-85-605, currently called Village Hall Remodeling Project, to Woodbine Property Renovations. Does anybody have an issue with that? Trustee Costa?
Mr. Mayor, just to explain, I thought I'd give us more latitude for this next year.
Okay.
Again, we don't know if we're going to need to spend 2.5 on the building, but in case something comes up, if it just says the whole renovation, we can use it in emergency for that purpose.
Okay. Does anybody have an issue with renaming it from Village Hall Remodeling Project to Woodbine Property Renovations? Okay, then we will make...
So the motion, the question would be, as trustee Sabo, would you amend your motion to include those two revisions to the budget?
Well, I would, but I have some other questions that may do some more amending, so should I go on?
Go ahead, trustee Sabo. Finish up, trustee.
I'm sorry, no, just one question. Just for point of clarification and confusion, do you think, just again, do you think it would be okay if we made the changes based on, as we go, instead of saying, are we okay with making all the changes at one time? There might be confusion. It's just an idea. Can we do it? I think it might be a little easier.
The easier thing to do is just to go through, start with this list, and so, and to see if anybody else has other changes, and then we'll just add them to these,
Okay,
add them to this list.
That's fine.
Okay, trustee Sabo, you had a comment?
Yes, on page 4, under public safety liaison of $15,000, it's under the general fund. I'm concerned that it is in here at all. I would like to see this removed. I don't think it's our place as a municipality to pay for a police liaison. Other communities are not doing that. I don't believe it belongs in there. We haven't paid it for a while. Prestil isn't paying it. And what happens in other high school district is that the high school district pays for it. So I am recommending that it be removed.
Okay, we did have some discussion about, we originally helped share what the cost of a police officer at one point in time. You're correct, Crest Hill decided they were not going to be involved in that payment. They are attending the same school. We did decide not to pay it. This is not the full amount. This is basically a donation to help pay the salary. I guess I have to ask the board if they want to leave this in the budget or they don't want to leave it in the budget. This is, if I have it correct, this is the police officer that we were referring to over at the high school. Trustee Sabo?
Yes, that is correct.
And if I can just add a little bit more, which I mentioned during my budget presentation, this is really a place setter in the budget. The board, obviously, if you keep it in the budget, the board in the future would have to vote on whether or not you were going to contribute to the program. The Administration and Finance Committee meeting, I think 2 months ago, suggested that I set up a meeting with Mr. Benson from Lockport and sit down and just talk about this and then report back to the committee. That meeting actually is scheduled for this week. It's been scheduled for a while. And I was going to report back to Administration and Finance, obviously, at your next meeting. And then if the committee wants to recommend something forward to the board, then you can do that, and then the person would come to the board. So as I mentioned during my budget presentation, it's just in there as a place setter. Okay. It does not mean that the money is going to be set, because the board has to make that decision in the future.
As Cam explained, until we talk with Lockport, we're not committing to, spending the money. He's putting it as a place setter in the budget in the event that we want to participate in that program. Does anybody have a problem leaving it as a place setter until we hear back from Lockport?
No, but can I make a comment? So if he's meeting with Mr. Benson, because my comment was similar, why isn't Lockport High School spreading that out over everybody to include unincorporated areas? Like Andrew High School they must do that, and it goes all the way, goes into directly, they pay Tinley Park directly.
Right, I think it's
So
a
why
way-
isn't Lockport High School doing that to Lockport?
Right, I think it's a good question, I can ask them that question.
Okay.
I've got a list of things I actually want to ask them about it. The book on this is pretty, the file on this is pretty thick. I think before I got here, you had a lot of conversations about this, and I know that at one point Crest Hill did pull out, and then everything kind of fell apart. Because I think the board at one point had, actually this board, or previous board, had approved re-upping the contribution, but it was contingent upon Crest Hill also participating, and then they decided not to, and so that never happened, and the contribution stopped. I think what Lockport would just like for us to consider is maybe not that full amount that you used to contribute, but just some kind of donation to help offset a little bit of the cost of the officer. And so I have a list of questions, Trustee Speaks, I can add that to it and see if they've asked anybody else. And any other questions at that meeting, I think is Thursday at noon. Any other questions people have, send them to me an email, and I can give those to Ben and get some answers back.
Okay. I don't see any problem leaving it as a place setter. We all have, you know, if we decide on it, it has to come back to the board to be approved. So how don't we just leave it as a place setter for now?
I'll agree with that because it bears more discussion. I really feel that the previous decision that was made that if Crest Hill doesn't, that Homer Glen shouldn't either, because we all our children feed into that high school.
Okay, did you have anything else there, Trustee Simmons?
Yes, I did. I have a question about page 18, Parks and Recreation Fund, $50,000, and I know the discussion was about, well, there's no indoor recreation here, and Orland Park could provide it. I'd like to know what, a little more about this, what they could provide and who is going to benefit from it.
Right, I'd be happy to elaborate. At the budget presentation, I mentioned one of the things that the Park and Recreation Committee has been discussing on and off for a little while is the reality that although the community certainly has a goal, it's in our park plan, of ultimately having indoor facilities like a pool and things of that nature, it's in the long-term park plan, that the reality of that happening within the next couple of years is probably not high. So one of the things the Park Recreation Committee has asked staff to do, which we've done, is a little research about adjoining communities and what people that live, we'll use Orland as an example. People that live in Orland, City of Orland, what they pay for going to classes and swimming and stuff like that, and then what residents in Homer Glen pay out of district. And they want to see that. We put that all together for the committee. I think that Marcia has that on her next agenda. And then a continued discussion about possibly coming up with some system where the Village of Homer Glen could potentially help to subsidize Homer Glen residents who want to, not just Orland Park, we're surrounded by 3 communities actually that have indoor facilities. And so it's a place setter for an item that a committee is discussing, similar to the resource officer. It may be ultimately that the Park and Recreation Committee decides not to forward anything to the board to consider, or they may ultimately forward something to the board to consider, and it's in there as a place setter for that. Trustee DeVivo, is that a fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was an initiative that Trustee DeVivo asked, just like a number of you asked for specific initiatives, that was one of her.
Well, I know at this time that any resident of Homer Glen could join in any park district activity, whether it be indoor or outdoor, whatever the program is, and then they would just pay a little extra.
They pay a premium.
Yeah, non-resident, non-resident.
Right. So, so is that what the committee is thinking about? That then the village would help offset that cost for the residents, so the resident wouldn't be paying that extra?
Right. And so the first step is they wanted to see what the difference was for in-district versus out-of-district rates. In other words, what somebody who lives in town here would pay to Lamont or to Orland or to Lockport. And then they're probably, I'm assuming they're going to want to see us do some financial projections on if the Village of Homer Glen helped to offset 10% of that cost or 20% of that cost, what that would mean with some projections. Maybe they're going to want us to contact those different communities and see how many Homer Glen, if they can provide us with how many Homer Glen residents are currently members. So it's really a work in progress. Marcia's been working on it with her committee for a number of months. I just wanted to make sure that if a recommendation came before the board and you decided you wanted to support that there would be a line item in the budget that would allow for that to happen. But obviously a number of decisions would have to be made in order for that to happen.
Okay, and so this would be done on an individual basis, so whether a family wanted to partake, a child wanted to partake, it's individual, it's not for a group.
No, it's, what actually ends up happening, I think, is the Village of Homer Glen would enter into some agreements with the three, probably the three entities or whoever would want to enter into an agreement with us. And every time a resident from Homer Glen wanted to become a member of one of these three entities, they would be told that there is a support program that helps to subsidize your out-of-district rates. And, would you like to participate in this? And then we would end up getting a notice from either Orland or City or the Lockport Park District or Vermont, and then we would pay that invoice on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, so there's more investigation and so forth, so it is a place setter, so I'll just, now I understand that.
Okay.
I did have another.
Okay.
Page 28, under Parks and Recreation Fund, we did talk about this for trail maintenance and repair, and I believe the answer was that, well, the trail's in pretty good condition, and it probably doesn't need a line item, but we never know what the weather is going to do. We never know if there's going to be some vandalism to the trail, and so I would like to see a line item for repair and maintenance of the trail system.
Trustee Sabo, did you say page 28?
18. Well, I thought it was 28. Could be wrong.
It's the Park and Rec's budget, and you want to add a return maintenance line for the trail.
Well, wait a minute, what page is it?
I think that's 18.
18. Yes, it is page, I had page 18 and I turned, that's true.
I think the reason why I agree that that would be a typical line item that we would want to put in. I think the trails, we're fortunate that the trails that we currently control are in such good shape. We thought we could wait a little while longer for that. Michael, if you feel differently, I don't know if we have any. We're not really talking about fences. We're just talking about pavement.
Yeah, I mean, except for like probably one minor location, everything else is in very good shape at this point.
That is the answer that I remember, except that we don't know what will happen, what the weather will happen. Something will take place to destroy something, or there could be vandalism. And that is my concern, if there isn't anything in there to repair it, then we're going to have to find a place, a way. So I'm just trying to be proactive on this point.
I would honestly say that I think that we're going to be okay with that. You have not, here's the other reason I say that. You actually, over the past couple of years, you have not spent all the money that you budgeted for in the Park and Recreation Fund. And so there's usually a little leeway there in case something like that would come up. I would not expect it to be a lot of money. So I would say for this year, we're probably in pretty good shape. If we do have an issue that comes up and there needs to be a trail improvement for some reason, I would bring it to the attention of the board, and we would suggest a place setter or line item for it to go into. You will not spend more than you budgeted in Parks and Rec this next year. So I think overall the fund will be in good shape. You don't really need to add a line item for that. I wouldn't even know how much to add if you did add a line item at this point, quite frankly.
Okay, well, if you're confident about this, and
Very
if something
confident.
happens, we'll know about
I'll
it.
bring it to your attention.
Okay.
Trustee Costa may add a question.
Yeah, just a point of clarification with trustee Sable saying, so at the end of the year, we are anticipating $1,797,000 in surplus in that fund, correct?
Money, essentially, a fund balance.
So, for example,
Surplus fund balance,
That's
correct.
if we spend everything that we're anticipating, which I would guess we don't typically do.
I realize it. So, as trustee Sable, I just want to make sure we all understand this correctly. As trustee Sable mentioned, that let's say we have a very bad storm that comes through and one of the creeks back up and it floods the path and lifts the asphalt and there's a $8,000 repair.
Right.
We can just go into this fund and take it without having a contingency line item?
You can.
I mean, I just want to make sure we're okay with doing that.
Yes, I think we'll be perfectly fine.
Okay,
with
I just wanna
that.
make sure.
As we would, if there were any kind of emergency expenditure like that happened, we would be able to pay for it.
Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Sable, you have anything else?
Yes, I believe that, that we, on page 21, that was removed on the stormwater education. And, oh, no, yes, but that's not, this is on page 21 about stormwater improvement project. It's $26,079. I want to make sure, because it seemed to be a low figure, that this would be for stormwater improvement project. Maybe it's listed somewhere else.
I'll have to look it up. We have notes for all this stuff, so if you give me just a couple of minutes, I'll look.
Because I know that we have intended to do more than that.
Right, there is a much larger budget under capital for stormwater.
Okay, so if I may ask our attorney how, if this is a question and it needs to, and this cost needs to be increased, what do we do here for the motion?
No, it doesn't need to be increased, it is somewhere else.
It is
There are multiple line items that deal with stormwater. So John, why don't you explain this one?
The $26,029 budgeted on page 21 under stormwater improvement projects is the balance of the Oak Valley Grant project.
What's the balance?
It's the closeout to finish that.
Okay,
And that's
so,
why it's not in the bond fund.
okay,
Because
so,
the money you can pay for it is in this fund. It's funds, capital
all
project
right, so
funds.
there is money in there for other projects.
Oh, yes, there's quite a bit.
Okay, and then I know that in the binder, it was mentioned, the Opticon coming out of CIP bond money, is that also being removed? Because it was, from the very beginning, when we heard about the video gaming, it was, money was supposed to be paid from video gaming for.
John can explain that for you.
Pardon me?
John can explain that for you. He needs to look to see how, what the amounts are.
It was a very small number because most of it's going out in fiscal 16. And I'm trying to put a number on it.
While he's doing that, trustee Sabah and the rest of the board, I would just mention that under the CIP bond fund, line item 720085,640, that's where the stormwater improvement projects are located, the remainder that we've already approved and we're moving forward with, and that's $928,815, so it's almost $1 million. That's in Fund 7.
There is no money in the budget for that decom. It's a fiscal 16 endeavor, so there is no money, no Opticom money budgeted in the bond fund this year.
Well, even if it's 2016, it shouldn't be in there.
Okay, but there is none in there.
Thank you. And I just want to say, and I think it's been iterated before differently, that all items that are listed in the budget, when we approve, doesn't mean that they are automatically going to happen, because you do bring it back to the board.
Trustee Sal, I have to apologize. John and I were talking about your last question, and I didn't hear you.
Well, I repeated especially for you.
I apologize.
I said because we are approving the items in the budget, does not mean that they are automatically going to happen. That the projects are brought back to us in detail.
Yes. Yes, there are always a number of large projects, just like last year, when you budgeted for the stormwater improvement projects last year, those came back to you and you voted on them, so there's always, that always happens every year, yes, you're correct.
He's just budgeting for them in the upcoming year, and then anytime we spend money, it comes back to us for approval.
Yes, and I just wanted to make that clear. And then here again, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Mayor, I have a few, but I'll give somebody else a chance.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Page 1, and this is, I just have a question. It says 2015 final budget, gaming tax, and then underneath for 36,000, and gaming license, 27.5 budget or projected. Now, is that money supposed to be used for like the public safety programs? Is that where Opticon, is that going to?
There's two different sources of revenue.
Right.
You have permitting revenue, which goes into the general fund. That's the permit that they pay when they get their gaming license. And then you have the taxes that come from the state, and that has been reserved by village board action. All those tax monies have been reserved for Opticon right now.
Okay, so
at some point in the future, because there's more coming in than we had anticipated. So at some point in the future, the board will have to decide where else they want to spend that money. But right now, we're going to save it for Opticon probably for a couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Does that explain that?
Yes.
Okay.
I think also that we discussed a couple more, I know at least one more location for Opticon, which I believe is in front of the school. So there are going to be more Opticon systems put in place. So as we're getting more money in, don't forget we're also adding.
When the county decides to further improve Bell going north, then you may have other Opticon expenses. That's correct.
Great. Do you have any other questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm just page 3, and I'm just picking this out because it's an individual instead of a group, the intern contract. So when it says projected at 14,688, that means it's for the 1 year. And then the final for the 2015 is 2736. So is that because he's going to be working more?
No, the 14 actually isn't for a whole year. It wasn't a whole year that he was here, so it's a little.
Well, it says, okay, it says the 10 month, it says like the 10 month was 11,000, then projected, which isn't that for the
This
whole year?
contract started in September,
Okay.
so it's 9 months in fiscal 14, and fiscal 15, it's.
Oh, so
projected for a
the
full 12 months.
overlay.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Just so I know how to use this. Okay, this one, if you can explain, because this is my first budget with you. Page 19, the debt service fund. If you look at the home rule sales tax, and maybe I'm not misinformed on here, the 10-month actual is shown $1,700,000. So if you take 10 months, we're pulling in about $170,000 per month. And then it jumps up for projected, which projected should be just additional 2 months. So it jumps up. So what are we expecting to pull in at $350,000 per month?
Home rule sales tax is 3 months in arrears. It's actually 5 months left. There's 5 months more to post.
That makes sense.
And that's because of the state's not paying it.
Sales tax is always 90 days in arrears.
Right.
It
doesn't come in immediately.
It doesn't come in immediately, and we have no seasoning, so I didn't book a receivable for it. It will be on there when the statement gets audited, but that's what it is.
Okay, yeah, okay, that explains that. Okay, thank you. And let's see here. Just a quick question on page 20. Contractual, what is this under? contractual services, professional fees, 387,000, is that like projected for architect fees or?
That's for
putting that in
any,
the budget?
any professional fees